What's up, everybody? My name is Haovu, and this is the Haovu Moto Vlog. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining me today. The topic of today's video is 2,000 miles on my Kawasaki KLX300 Supermoto, 2,100 and something miles. So far, so good. Still loving it, guys. Spoiler alert, still loving it. I want to go over some mods that I've done, 3 mods in particular that I've added onto the bike. This rack here, kind of like luggage rack from PM Racks. I ordered it from Amazon. You can also go to pmracks.com. That's PM as in Papa, Mike, Post, Meridium for you Latin people out there. And not Latin American, mind you. But it was like $96. Couldn't be happier with it. I mean, it looks pretty sick with the bike, with the fender eliminator. I mean, no problem whatsoever. You do have to lose the tool bag. But if you email PM Racks, they will send you hardware that makes the tool bag sit on top of the rack, which is nice to have. I'll probably end up doing that. But I mean, honestly, it kind of beats the purpose, right? You're going to have that tool bag and then you're not going to be able to put something on it. But you're going to have to kind of make a decision, tool bag or luggage bag or no tool bag. But super stoked about that rack. This is a motorcycle like no name from China bag that I bought from Amazon. I think it was $36. Just Google motorcycle tailbag on Amazon. You'll be able to find this one. If you really want the specific one and you can't find it, just let me know and I'll send you a link. But I couldn't be more happy with this thing either. I mean, made in China. It's very well made. Actually, when it extends up like that, there's actually a full paper towel roll in there standing up, lengthwise, just to get it in there because I didn't have my helmet. But just to show you guys how tall that thing gets when it's all fully expanded, and it collapses as well. And for me, for any day trip, this is enough. For any overnight trip, this is enough. If I'm staying at a hotel, if I'm eating out, I'm packing underwear in there, water, snacks, multiple days worth of clothes. I mean, I'm pretty minimalist. I can make it work with this bag. I can fit a lot of crap in that bag. I didn't tie it down with the little buckle clips just because I was lazy, but it's pretty simple to do that and just wrap it around underneath the rack. So a lot of versatility there with both the rack and the bag. I couldn't be happier. So that was $140 between the two. And moving on to the last thing I want to talk about today as far as mods are concerned. You can see me hyper flashing right now because I don't have the relay. I didn't buy the relay. There was not one available from TST, but thanks to Dabs710, shout out to Dabs710. He told me, hey, the TST relay is now available for this bike. I went out and ordered one. And then Jax the Axe, what a name, what a sick name. Jax the Axe told me that you really don't need to buy the TST one. You can buy any relay. His was on Amazon for like $8 as long as it's in this configuration, 2 prongs, kind of set at a 90-degree angle. And it's just kind of going to be like a universal relay. I didn't really understand that. I didn't know that. But now I do. So thank you very much, Jax the Axe and Dabs710. So this is where the relay is. Thank you also, Jax the Axe, for that, because I would have been looking under the seat, unplugging a whole bunch of crap. That saved me probably about 10 to 15 minutes there. It's just right next to the battery. You do have to remove the left fender. And it's just right there. Just slide it off, that little rubber piece, and then unplug, and that's it. That's, easy peasy, lemon squeezy. I will say that now that the rack is on there, it's harder to remove the seat. It's a little harder to remove the seat and the plastics. Actually, the plastic, I kind of had to like finagle it out from under that the rack. I don't know if you can see, but there's just where the rack connects. It just kind of, it bolts the seat and the fenders together. So there's just a little tiny bit of space to work with once you remove the bolts, and you kind of have to, I ended up scratching like the fender a little bit, to get it out because I was just too lazy to unbolt the whole rack. But I mean, as you can see, we are flashing at a normal rate now, so pretty stoked about that. All in all, it was about $160 for the mods that I just talked about. It's not cheap. Motorcycling is not cheap, guys. If you're trying to do the mod thing, really make a list of your priorities and why you want these things. Like, be really clear with why you want these things. I know a lot of people do the exhaust and the power commander, and they're trying to squeeze a little more juice out of these machines. And I like that. I mean, on one hand, it's cool that you're uncorking this bike and you're really letting it breathe and you're letting it pollute the environment more. Let's be honest here. That's what we're doing. And you're getting more power and you get more sound. The sound thing, I don't really agree with on a bike like this. I mean, it's a single cylinder 300cc motorcycle, guys. It sounds like a little fart can. And if you mod it, maybe it sounds like a little louder of a fart can, a more aggressive fart can, but a fart can nonetheless. That's how I feel about that. It's going to be a very polarizing opinion, I'm sure. But for me, I don't really care to squeeze that much more juice out of it. I'm sure it's going to be a lot more fun. I'm sure it's much more punchy, and downtown through the city, I'm sure I'm going to feel it. Or with a chain, like with the sprocket change, those are things that I consider, but they're not high on my list. And I really don't love the idea of messing with the performance and just introducing performance mods onto this like kind of system that came from the factory as is. In terms of longevity or just, how they're compatible with each other or problems down the road, I think you're opening it up a little bit to some uncertainty when you do mods like that, but it is appealing. A sprocket thing, I don't think you're going to have any kind of problems with, performance or reliability or anything like that. You're just going to lose top end or, sacrifice a little bit of bottom end there. But with performance mods like the exhaust, or you're messing with the intake, or you're removing the air filter, stuff like that, I'm like, I would love to do it, but it's really not high on my list. And if I probably won't, to be honest. But just a little tangent there about how I feel about modding little bike like this. It's great as it is. It's super light as it is. And it's just expensive, like just to do all that. So I could spend my money elsewhere. So that's not a high priority for me. But my point is, guys, if you're short on cash, just make sure the mods that you're doing are the ones that are really going to provide you a lot of value. And this rack and that bag provide me a lot of value. And they make me able to go on certain types of trips and make trips more comfortable for me. So they were no-brainers for me. And I'll say, guys, if you ever sell the bike, you're not really going to recoup that money that you spent on the mods. Nobody cares that you spent $1,000 and this bike has one more horsepower than it had before. If anything, guys, most adults in the used bike market stay clear away from bikes that have been heavily modded, right? I'm an adult. I'm 33 years old. The second I see a bike like this with all that, FMF powerbomb exhaust or whatever, air filter mods, like all these stickers on it, just everything, I'm like, cool, man. That's dope that you made this bike your own, but I'm not going to buy your bike. I'm going to look for something stock and someone who took care of their bike and something that I know is going to have that 100% Japanese reliability that it came with. And, I don't like it even. Who knows what else they did with the bike, if they're just like tinkering with it and just like if parts are missing or whatever, just like, you're buying a used bike. There's so much that you don't know. So your chances of sticking with a stock guy that took care of his bike, it's just much better for peace of mind. So that's what I think. And a lot of the times I feel like guys want to charge more because they're like, oh, I put $1,000 into this bike. But no, that's not how it works, man. Like, you're not going to get $1,000 back for those mods that you put on. If anything, it's going to be harder to sell. And so keep your stock parts if you ever do that, because that's what people want when they buy a bike, especially guys, older guys, maybe younger guys think it's all cool if it's already modded out. Maybe someone who's a little more naive, but for the most part, keep your stock parts. It's going to be better off when you go to sell the bike if that day ever comes. So 2,000 miles on the motorcycle, guys. Let's start with the one thing that I definitely want to mention. I think since I put in the full synthetic motor oil, this transmission has been a little, I don't want to say unreliable, but it's been between first, neutral, and second. I'm having to click, up, and down quite a bit, almost on every ride. And I don't know if it's due to the full synthetic. So if any of you guys can shed some light on that, if you guys have experience or understand how that works, or guys who are just running conventional oil, if you have this problem on your KLX, let me know. I'm having to like double click down to like really get out of neutral into first sometimes, or if I want to go up to second, sometimes I have to kick it up 2 times, just a click, to get it really to click in. So that's just something that I deal with pretty regularly. It's not an annoyance for me because overall I love the transmission. It feels light, and for an entry-level bike like this, I mean, I don't really expect it to be perfect. I've had problems like this on every Japanese bike that I've owned. It's just not a perfect thing, the transmission of a motorcycle, especially if you're coming to a stop really fast, I've noticed, and you don't really have time to go down the gears properly. That definitely for sure will kind of like make you have to like kind of release the clutch, roll the bike a little bit, or do something to get the bike to click into gear. But even when that's not the case, sometimes even if I'm just cruising through the city, I do have to like down, click. That's become like a normal thing for me to have to do to kind of get it where I want it to go in that first, neutral, second range. I hope that makes sense, guys. Like I said, I'm not the most technical guy, but if you guys have experience with that or can shed some light on that, I would love to hear your input on that. But that's the only thing, guys. That's really the only thing worth mentioning on a negative side. I'm still really loving this motorcycle. And for my urban commuting, for riding through the city, for exploring the burbs Monday through Friday, excellent. I mean, I couldn't be happier with this. This is the most fun I've ever had in that environment. And then on the weekends, getting to the canyons, those tight, twisty turns are my favorite on this motorcycle. And that's it. I mean, I love it. And I love it for what it is. And I think that's very, very important when you're getting into motorcycling, or just when you're on a motorcycle. Just love it for what it is, no matter what kind of motorcycle you're on. I mean, that's kind of like a skill that you have to develop. And even in life, this will take you far. You love your life for what it is. You love what you have and not what you don't have. You don't focus on that, right? Focus on what you have, and then you will get more to be grateful for, instead of the people who are like, I wish this, I wish life was this way instead, I hate this, like always like kind of down about it. And just, there's nothing wrong with having your own preferences and opinions, but if you're sitting on a bike like this and you're focused on all the power it doesn't have and all the torque and the horsepower it doesn't have, then, I mean, just what is that doing for you? It's taking you away from appreciating what it is. And with a bike like this, you have to love it for what it is. You know what I mean? That's the only way you're really going to have fun on a motorcycle like this. And just aside from the motorcycle, can you enjoy your time on two wheels, regardless of how many cc's the engine has, or how cool it looks, or how many fairings it has, or like what other people think of it? Can you enjoy your time on the motorcycle? And can you really love the sport of motorcycling? Because it's such an expensive thing. It's such a risky thing that if you have all these conditions to it, then you're going to have a bad time. Like, oh, I have to be on this bike because other people are going to call me a wuss if I'm not on this bike. I can't be on this bike because I have to be on a real Harley. You know what I mean? Like, I can't be on a 300cc because people are going to call me a wussy because it's too small. Like, just so worried about all these conditions. Like, I have to be on an expensive bike, and it has to be fast, and it has to be this, and it has to be that, and it has to be that. Like, all these conditions, all that's doing is moving you further and further away from happiness and from gratitude and from being in the present moment and really enjoying yourself. What if you could say, man, I could get on a bicycle, I could get on an electric bike, I could get on a scooter, I could get on a 1000, I could get on a 600, I could get on a 300, and I'm going to enjoy it. I'm going to be learning, I'm going to be experiencing what this bike has to offer, and seeing, how it's different from what I've ridden in the past, and try to really understand what the engineers were going for, and feeling things like, oh, here's the front brake, there's so much to like explore and learn and to be like grateful for. And if you're just pigeonholed into like focusing on all the negative stuff, like, oh, it's not this, it's not this, it's not this, man, you're not going to have a good time. It's a total mindset thing, right? And I think that veteran riders, it's that level of maturity too that you get from the old guys who can appreciate something small like this. And especially when you're going on long trips, like just packing your bag and doing overnight trips, you're riding for 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 hours. I mean, a little bike like this, it's nice. It sips fuel and it's light, and you don't really have to worry about anything. You're just there for the ride. You're just cruising along with a smile on your face and just this peaceful Zen zone that you're in. And a small displacement bike like this, these little dual sport bikes, you really don't need much more than 300 cc's. I mean, even a 250, like those dual sports, it's just about that freedom. It's just about being on the road. It's just pure fun and peace, and just kind of like this harmony with you and the road and the elements. It's really nice, guys. So that's what I think. 2,000 miles in. Watch my other videos, guys. I've spoken a lot about the KLX300 Supermoto, but the verdict is 2,000 miles in, I'm still loving it. It makes a lot of sense for the riding that I'm doing. If you guys have any questions, leave them in the comments section below. Also, if you guys made it to the very end, as a tidbit, if you're wondering where my BRZ is and what that Honda Accord wagon was doing in the BRZ spot, I sold my BRZ, guys. I sold it to Carvana, which is like an online sales service. They just came and picked up my car. They gave me $13,500 for my BRZ that had a cracked bumper and 102,000 miles on it, which I was super stoked with. This Honda Accord actually has 402,000 miles on it. I'm about to change the timing belt and the water pump, and it's going to be solid after that. Super solid. It's going to go for another 100,000 miles at least, guys. I'm driving it across the country, and big changes happening for Haovu. So that's just, we'll leave it at that for now, guys. If you made it to the very end, thank you very much for joining me. in today's session. I hope you got something out of it, guys. I hope I didn't ramble on too much. But as always, I wish you happiness. I wish you health. I wish you unlimited joy on your motorcycling journey, wherever it may take you. Thank you so much. I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.